How do you describe your beginnings, your role in this book? How do you describe the characters, the talent of your work?
Well, I went to the archives of Novartis, Swiss company, which had discovered LSD in 1943. The Sandoz, the company that now is Novartis. So I was doing research there in the archives for a long time, and I could see the beginnings of LSD, and then I could also find why it didn't become a medicine, why it became illegal, and the story was connected to the story of my family actually, because my mother is suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and I had read a study that LSD in microdoses is good against dementia. So my father wanted to know if LSD is maybe a medicine. Why is it an illegal drug? He wanted to understand the history of LSD. So this is what I provided in the book.
In the Gran Delirio reverse Hitler's addiction to more than 70 years substance. Do you
Yeah.
think this medical depends influence his irrational decision more than his ideology, or was it a catalyst of Nazi chaos?
Think it really formed his ideology that Hitler took drugs, because he formed his ideology before when he wasn't taking drugs yet. He was a right-wing racist, white supremacist, you could say. But he used the drugs later on to keep his course and to, not really look at reality, but to stay in his ideology. So he used the drugs basically as a tool to stay on track, you could say, on his right-wing track.
One thing about your books is that they deal with heavy subjects, and I admire what you do. Those subjects down permitting was a secret weapon of the Nazi regime. How do you this rewrite the history of the war considering the sequence collage to through exhaustion?
The pervitin, which is methamphetamine, helped the German troops in the beginning quite a lot because they could stay awake for a longer period of time than the enemy, the French and the British. So they overran the enemy. This led to the early victories of Germany. The only problem was that if you take methamphetamine for a long time, at one point you have to you have to sleep. You have to, make up for all the sleep that you missed. It doesn't give you more strength. It just shifts your energy balance. So it's quite good as long as the high lasts, but after the high wears off, it's quite bad actually, because you become, less energetic than you were before, and that then became a problem for the German troops in the longer run. So methamphetamine is not really sustainable for a long war, which Second World War was a very long war. So methamphetamine in the end didn't really help the Germans. Only in the beginning it helped them.
Wow, that's powerful. Thanks for saying it. What impact does this revelation have on our understanding of German efficiency during World War II? And why has the topic of Nazi drugs been tabled until now?
I mean, it kind of shows, I think, that Germans are actually normal people, because the Nazis always said they're superior people to everybody, but actually they're not, so they needed the drug to be, super soldiers. That's why the Nazi regime actually was against drugs, because they said we don't need drugs. We're better anyway. But in reality, they needed them. So it kind of shows the hypocrisy.
From an ethical perspective, should the wars have ignored the role of German pharmaceutical companies in anti-doping? Has the ties or those this expose global complicity, the human experimentation?
Um, it's a complicated question. I mean, yeah, this is a nice book too.
This book is translating is Spanish. It's amazing. Wow. I'm fascinated. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Where are you? Where do you live?
Colombia,
Where?
Cúcuta,
Bogota.
Cúcuta.
Cucuta. Where's that?
Cúcuta is a border from Venezuela.
I hope I can visit soon and have a reading in Cucuta.
This book unsolicited editorial Planeta. Planeta is a send me give this book.
Oh,
How do you your answer this question? Ethical perspective is difficult. Really?
the last question. Well, I don't think that they were complicit. I think they didn't realize that the Nazis would use these drugs in war. You know, everyone knew that the Germans had a very strong pharmaceutical industry. And actually, the British and the French, they tried to make it smaller through the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War. But I think no one really expected that the German army would use something like methamphetamine on such a grand scale, because when they attacked France, over 40 million dosages of these tablets were being used. So that was a very new approach for making a war. And I think the Western countries were surprised by what the Germans did.
In fact, Norman, in this book, an hallucinogenic libertas, a Berlin aristocrat become a symbol of espionage and forbidden law. Do you think her sacrifice inspiring lessons for the contemporary activities against authoritarian regiments?
Well, yes, I think now we have the new rise of the right in Europe and also in Germany. And I think that it makes sense to resist anti-democratic forces. And I hope that Havo and Libertas, whose story I describe in this book, can be role models for us to be brave and, not be quiet and speak our opinion and make sure that democracy is being defended against the right wing who wants to destroy it.
Thank you for the as well. ¿Piensas que en Los Infiltrados se idealiza el heroísmo de la pareja o logras un equilibrio realista al mostrar sus errores y es inevitable ese final trágico? ¿Qué dices sobre la fragilidad de la resistencia interna? What does this say about the fragility of internal resilience?
I mean, I think I idealize them maybe a little bit because I think they are heroes and heroes are always idolized. But I also wanted to show their true life in Berlin between 1930 and 1942 when they died. I was interested in how it was to live in Berlin at that time, so I was trying to show them as realistically um, as possible, and also show that being in the resistance doesn't, make you a hero automatically, but you're still a normal person. And they were like very much loving themselves and having a good time with their friends, and like they like to go to a party and dance. So I wanted to show their real life more than actually idealize them. But I still think what they did was very heroic. And that's why I wrote the book. Writing a book about someone is idealizing that person automatically. But I was trying to make it as realistic as I could.
Oh, wow. Info question. Could you describe for Palermo shooting? A film be Wing Wenders, showcasing your talent for visual narratives that later permeated your books. What do you
Yeah.
perception?
It was very much fun to work with Wim Wenders because he's a great filmmaker. And I mean, for me, it's always interesting to try different formats, and writing for a film is very different than writing a book. So I think I learned a lot while I was working on the screenplay together with Wim Wenders and then Dennis Hopper, who I like very much, was playing in the film. So I was also becoming friends with Dennis Hopper, the American actor, and that was very helpful for me as an artist to understand art in a bigger way.
You are passionate about hiding truth. Has said in interviews that his mission is to reveal histories, stories that the powerful prefer to hide. Shows a truth used in scenes or CIA experiments is hard investigation. Your investigation is
Mm.
wow, fantastic.
Thank you. Well, I think it's important for that's the role of the writer in our society to uncover things that we usually don't get informed about in the media or from politicians. So I think it's an interesting position, and I hope I can uncover more things in the future.
Imagining a sequel to a Fantastic Trip, what role might psychologists play in modern intelligence in provocative styles? Cultists for the shadow, post-pandemic, therapeutic, renaissance.
Well, I think that psychedelics are actually quite important for mental health, and humans have actually used psychedelics for a long time. There were, like, for example, in America before the Spanish came, in Mesoamerica, there were a lot of psychedelic cults or practices from ayahuasca to San Pedro, or there were many, and the Spanish, when they conquered America in the 16th century, they suppressed all the psychedelic practices. And I think they are quite normal for us to use psychedelics and understand ourselves better. And so I think they're tools that help us, become smarter people. And we always want to become smarter because that's what we are as human beings. We have a big brain, and our brain needs food, wants to expand, wants to think new things. So I'm actually working on a sequel. And it's a new world history showing that psychoactive plants have always been with us and have always shaped us and have been our friends, but have also sometimes been our enemies, but they've always been close to us. So the war against drugs makes really no sense, and it has to stop because it just doesn't make sense to make a war on plants.
I'll give my opinion, Norman. I don't agree with what they say about criticizing this question. You have been criticizing for sensationalizing history in the Gran Delirio. Does this justify the value of making taboo subjects like drugs in a sense accessible, or does it dilute academic seriousness?
Well, I don't think I sensationalized it at all. I think I just wrote it in a very gripping way, but I didn't invent any facts. In the El Gran Delirio, you have all the sources that I talk about, so everyone can look it up. So I think that criticism that came actually from historians who kind of missed the story. They didn't see they didn't find what I have found, so they were jealous. But I don't think at all that I sensationalized it. I think I just wrote it in a fluent style.
Likely the parte resonate in the era of fake news. Those he research in this classificate archive remain useful of the importance of unearthing hidden truths in history.
I mean, it becomes harder and harder in our time to find out what actually happened because we do live in times of fabricated information. So I think going to the archives and actually looking at real documents that prove that something happened in the past, which is what I do for my books, is quite important. So it's the opposite of sensationalizing something. It's actually trying to come as close to the truth as possible. I think that's very important.
Norman, explore sometimes abuse in context of power. Do you think this is a subtly critique of today's society, where pharmaceutical companies and governments continue to manipulating controversial medicines?
Just a second, this is a very complex question. Uh, I mean, I always critique contemporary society um, because I think that can you say the question again? I'm sorry, I have to hear it again, please.
No problem. Explore sometimes abuse in context of power. Uh, what do you think, your opinion, in the new era
Mm.
uh, context of medicine or
Mm.
health?
I think we have to be very critical of big pharma because big pharma is basically not interested in healing people. It's only interested in making money. So I think a lot of medicines that are on the market are actually quite dubious, while psychedelics, who are real medicines for people, are still illegal because big pharma cannot make a lot of money with it. So that's completely absurd and that has to stop.
How do you decide in this, your opinion, in these writers of Colombia? Do you think visit Colombia someday?
Yes, I want to come to where are you based?
One day, one day visits on Colombia?
Yeah. Yes, I want to come to Colombia very soon. I was in Medellin and I was in Cartagena, but I've never been to Dugu. Where are you from?
Cúcuta.
Cucuta. I've never been to Cucuta and I've never been to Bogota, so I hope I can come again and then we can meet and I can speak to my readers in Colombia. That would be very nice.
Oh, oh well. Okay. Uh, Two last questions, Norman. ¿Cuál role the woman has libertad is the Nerman resistance? And why their history being overshadowed bit by their now narrative life staff of the Julie officers?
The group around Haro and Libertas were the only resistance group where women had about 50%. That's why I thought it was very interesting. Also, because Nazi Germany was a patriarchal society, so it's kind of natural that women would rebel against it. And I think Libertas was very brave um, in what she did. History is always written by men, so often women are overshadowed, and hope I can also, do something against that.
In a mind-blowing trip, connects Nazi experiments with LSD and the CS Make Ultra program. How do the Star Legacy explain the prohibition psychedelic in the USA and what therapeutic potential Hay Willows?
Because the CIA was so interested in, well, the CIA Americans became interested in LSD and psychedelics when they liberated the concentration camp in Dachau and they found records of the SS doing experiments in Dachau with psychedelics. So the American military thought, wow, the Nazis are interested in this. They saw that they wanted to find a so-called truth drug. So the American military then wanted to find the truth drug, and then the CIA also. So they kind of continued the Nazi experiments in America on American citizens, and that later on, that didn't give LSD a chance to become like a normal medicine on the market because the CIA wanted to, instrumentalize its use and not make it available for the public. So that eventually led to the banning and the illegalization of LSD, and we have lost a lot of therapeutical potential because research wasn't allowed for many decades. Only now it's being allowed again. So we lost like 50 years of research.
Oh well, what does this mean for our view of psychedelia as a hippie invention and how did it influence the Cold War?
Well, psychedelics are not a hippie invention. Hippies just discovered them at a certain point in time and really liked them. So the American government used that as a reason to make them illegal because they said, look, all the hippies who are against the war in Vietnam, they use LSD. We cannot make it illegal to be against the war, but we can make it illegal to take LSD, and then we can put these people in prison. So LSD kind of became weaponized in the Cold War, and it couldn't really develop its potential as a medicine.
And the last question is, how do you define your career in one word?
I love it. It's amazing. I will keep writing, and it will go up more, the career.
Oh, and, and finally, Norman, how would you define uh, your experience in this last book? Is a is a complete history circle of your investigation?
Yes, I mean, it all makes sense, and I'm really enjoying to look at how drugs shape history, and I think it's educational for my readers and also entertaining. So I'm happy about the process.
Invite people to follow your social media accounts. Invite people to Colombia, Latin America. Is your fans or your work, including me?
I think I have fans in Latin America, and I'm very happy. And please follow me. Also follow my Substack. I have a Substack, Stone Sapiens. It's called. Or follow me on Instagram. I'm very happy, and especially read the books. That's even more important than following.
Please stay very well picture.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, I must take a picture of you.
One, two, and
Thank you. It was a
it's
pleasure talking to you. Thank
your
you.
boss. Thank you to Planeta Publishing for the opportunity. Colombia, Planeta Colombia. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, bye bye. See ya.